Hello, beauties. Welcome to Moms Unboxed, a podcast where I unbox with you the how-tos, tips, and tricks to empower women to upgrade relationships, intimacy, and parenting. I'm your host, Melanie Carolyn, a multi-dimensional woman, life coach, lover, and mom who's made a lot of fucking mistakes. If you want to live a sensual and liberated life, you've come to the right space. Don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed because you don't want to miss an episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode on the Moms Unboxed podcast. I am so excited about today because we have been chatting about healing from trauma in a toxic relationship. And this is for the women who have been in toxic relationships, who have been manipulated, gaslit, fucking treated terribly, physically, emotionally, and mentally abused. And if you've ever been in a toxic relationship, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I join you as a fellow woman who has been in her fair share of toxic relationships. So if you know a mama or a woman that has been in a toxic relationship, send her this episode because today we're talking about investigating and releasing as we go through our healing journey. Last week we talked about having gentle awareness from a compassionate lens and truly acknowledging the shit that you have gone through. And it's an important episode because many women oftentimes want to play down or not acknowledge that, yes, they were in a toxic relationship and that the way they were treated was fucking terrible. And the reason why they are holding on to trauma is because they have yet to actually become aware of the trauma that resides in their body and the side effects that it can have on your well-being. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I would start there because this is a, part 1, part 2, and there will be a part 3. Today is part 2, and we are chatting about how to investigate the trauma and release it. As I went through my own healing journey, it became a part of the self-discovery journey as well. And that's what healing is. It's discovering parts of yourself that are triggering and need to be held with tenderness. If you are a woman who is hypervigilant, you are emotionally avoidant, you are disassociating, you are feeling exhausted, this is not a part of your personality. It is literally the way that you have created defenses in order to protect yourself. And the exhaustion is coming from being in survival mode and a dysregulated nervous system. When we are in survival mode, we literally don't even recognize this as a way that we have created life for ourselves in order to protect our heart and our emotions and the woman inside us. And that exhaustion comes from that self-protection. And oftentimes we're not even aware that we are functioning in this way. Another way that you could be functioning is hyper independence, not feeling safe to rely on anyone else, or protecting your heart, creating barriers and walls. Or it might look like ridding off dating because you've had such a poor experience with men. This is not abnormal. In fact, many women who have been in toxic relationships function in this way, But in the long run, it is absolutely detrimental to our well-being and our ability to receive and give love. When we become aware of the hypervigilance, the emotional dysregulation, the dysregulated nervous system, are living in survival mode, that is the key to furthering our healing. And when we become aware of this, we recognize the symptoms in our body. And that might look like a tight chest or an upset stomach or our inability to advocate for ourselves because we don't feel safe to express our needs, wants, and desires, or what we truly want in life. Even myself, I still struggle to express what I want to my partner. Even though I know I'm safe to do so, there is still programming within me that says, ugh, I don't know that I'm feeling safe to actually express my needs and wants without feeling like I am an inconvenience. And this is part of that healing process, is recognizing those patterns, narratives, and stories that we've told ourselves because of the result of us being with a toxic partner, and reprogramming them. So if you were in a toxic relationship with a partner that constantly made you feel like shit for expressing yourself, and you started dimming your voice, you might be in a healthy relationship now where you don't feel safe to express your needs, your wants, your desires, or the fact that you just want to be cuddled or need help with the dishes, need help picking up the kids or taking them to their practices, or that you want a date night. You might not feel safe to express any of those things because the past man that you were with made you feel guilty for wanting help, or made you feel like you were inadequate because you simply just wanted a partnership. You wanted someone to do those things with you. You have to be aware of how that relationship has affected you and how it's affecting your present relationship with yourself and the present relationship with your partner, if that is your situation. Whether you're single or you are partnered, that toxic relationship is going to follow you because you're still healing. And healing has several layers. We go through a healing process that is constant. And that means that you may recognize the things that you have taken away from that toxic relationship, and you have healed those things. But then one day you might be triggered and you realize, like, holy shit, I didn't realize my body was still holding on to this part of that toxic relationship. And this has happened to me so many times in my own experience, where my partner and I got together and he would constantly point out the fact that I was defensive. And it's because I felt like no one believed me, that I always had to defend my point of view and my perspective with even my parents or my siblings, and especially in those toxic relationships. And I worked on my tone of voice, and I worked on, okay, he's just expressing himself to me and I don't need to be so defensive. And I still find myself at times getting defensive because I feel so misunderstood, because that is deeply ingrained within me to have that limiting belief that people just don't understand me. And you're going to have experiences as well where these limiting beliefs are deeply ingrained within you, and you may heal them and you may transmute them. And then there's going to be a day where there's another layer of healing that opens you up. Healing is not something that you should avoid. Healing is expansive. it creates this opening for new growth and transformation. And oftentimes women will avoid the healing to a certain extent. Like, we won't go deeper into the layers. Like, we'll do the surface level shit, right? Like, obviously I need to heal my heart so that I can receive and give love. Yes. But there are things that are deeper that deserve your attention and compassion. And it's through these layers that we get to evolve into the woman that we truly want to be. And that might be especially with your self-confidence and your self-esteem. If you had a partner who constantly controlled what you wore or talked down to you, made you feel like shit for what you were wearing or what you felt good in, that lack of confidence is going to be deeply ingrained within you. And that is where the lack of confidence, self-esteem, lack of courage or bravery, that feeling of shame and guilt is going to continue unraveling itself so that you can evolve as a woman. So we want to investigate these emotions, these limiting beliefs, and the narratives that we carry so that we can truly transmute them. You're wondering, how the fuck do I do that, Mel? I've done the healing work and I still am getting triggered. That's okay. It is normal. What you want to do is investigate the trigger. You want to understand where the trigger lies within the body. The last episode, we talked about how the body remembers what the mind sometimes does not. And these layers of continued healing live within us. They are the emotions, they are the narratives, they are the stories, they are the limiting beliefs, and even memories. Whether it lies in the gut, our heart center, our throat, even our shoulders and neck. If you're constantly feeling pain in certain areas of the body, these are symptoms and messages to where you might be holding on to trauma. I was just speaking with a friend of mine, and she went and visited family members, and she was majorly triggered. She was feeling inadequate. She was not feeling confident. She was feeling like she was to blame for certain events that occurred in her family history. And she recognized that these triggers and this trauma was being held in her sacral. Now, the sacral is your reproductive organs. It's your pussy area. It's the source of your creativity and your feminine energy. And she noticed this energy was stuck in her sacral chakra. You might notice that your trauma is stuck in different chakras, different areas of your body. And when we start recognizing where the source is, that's when we get to investigate and ask that source questions. Some questions that you might want to ask the trauma that's residing in that part of your body is, where do you come from? And you get to sit with it and allow a response to come forward. And you first might want to just give it permission to speak to you and tell that part of you that you are listening and you are ready to hear the trauma. When we welcome parts of ourselves to come forward and we hold that part of us with tenderness, you will be absolutely surprised about the answers that you receive. So asking the source, where do you come from? Perhaps it gives you an age, or a memory arises, or it presents itself in different ways: color, shape, energy, symptomatic. Like, what are the symptoms that are coming forward? And when you ask, where does it come from? It's going to give you a response. And then you could perhaps ask, why are you here? And I recommend doing this work while you are meditating and having a journal with you so that you can jot down the answers that you receive. Our body responds in different ways. So it's better for you to do this in a meditative space so that you're not interrupted, that you are feeling safe in your body and your nervous system is regulated. And you are taking a moment to pause and breathe through the responses that you receive. Even if that's reminding yourself that you are safe in this moment, that you are ready and available to hear the responses that you receive, just reassuring yourself through this process. And this helps you soften into what is there, what is ready to be exposed. The next question that you might want to ask your trauma or the emotions that you're experiencing and where that is in the body is, what do you need from me? When we ask our trauma, what do you need from me? We are extending a hand to ourselves. We are wanting to resolve the parts of us that have not yet been met. It is through this investigative process that we learn how to best heal that trauma space, because not all healing looks the same for each trauma encounter that we have. Sometimes healing looks like wild rage, and in this rage we get to allow ourselves to scream or punch at a punching bag or beat an old microwave. We do this in a way that's expansive and healthy. Rage can be so liberating when done correctly. We don't want to take out our rage on other people or ourselves, but we want to release it and give it back to Mother Gaia to transmute. We want to alchemize these emotions to something powerful and great. Some of women's best work is done through this alchemization process. Healing also might look like bawling your eyes out and just releasing the energy through tears. Healing might mean journaling or meditating. It might look like taking a bath and just being with yourself. Healing might look like you going for a jog or going up to the mountains and shooting your gun and like releasing that energy as you shoot. Right? It's the way we harness our energy and release it that leads to greater healing. Setting the intention of, I'm going to release this shame that I am experiencing. So another question you might ask the trauma within is, how can I release you? And listening for what it says. I want to be released through rage, tears. Perhaps at this stage of the investigation process, you are actually releasing. There's emotions coming forward for you. Perhaps you are crying or screaming, or your body needs to move and you put on some corn and fucking do some headbanger shit, you know? You move your hips, you allow the energy to flow through you and out of you. We transmute this energy that is stuck within you into something great. Perhaps you are a painter and you want to express your emotions through painting or writing, or you love to skate and you want to skate through these emotions. There are so many ways that we can heal, and healing does not look the same for everybody. And like I said, healing doesn't even look the same for each emotion that you're trying to release. When you're trying to move through a piece of trauma that you have experienced, that is going to be expressed in so many different ways. I didn't heal through my divorce the same way that I healed from trauma of my past. It looks different. And we have to give ourselves permission to heal in the way that our body calls us to heal. We have to release the control and be with the uncomfortability of what healing looks like for us. When our trauma responds, I need to be alchemized through dance. Girl, you better dance. And this is healing from a place of deep knowing, because you are connecting with your body and you are seeking answers from the source, directly from the source, literally. You are chatting with your trauma, with the emotions, and you are exposing deeper parts of yourself, and you are giving those parts of yourself permission to come forward. And that means it's going to ask you to do things that you might not be comfortable with. But I promise you, through this process, you are going to gain a closer relationship with yourself. You are going to love yourself abundantly the more you connect with your body, your emotions, your trauma, and you alchemize and transmute what is within. Release is gratifying. It's not something to be scared of. And we don't want to stay disconnected from our emotions, because when we resist it, let me tell you, it doesn't fucking go away. It just buries itself deeper until you are so triggered that you have no choice but to face it. And you don't want to wait until you have no choice but to face it. We get to lead ourselves from a place of power when we choose to heal from a place of safety. It's like, yes, these thoughts are arising, these emotions I can feel. Let me sit down with it. That's a much different energy than you being triggered and then you getting angry and not understanding the anger and you pissing off your partner or your kids or your friends and family because you are so angry and disassociated with your own body that you don't know what to do with this energy. That's not what we want, right? Healing can be pleasurable, in not in this sexual sensual way. I mean, yes, healing is absolutely sensual. Let me tell you, when you are healing and you are getting in touch with your body and you're feeling those sensations, absolutely, it's sensual. But it is not pleasurable in the fact that I'm getting orgasms. Actually, I take that back too, because I have an amazing guest coming on the Moms Unboxed podcast where she is going to talk about healing through pleasure, because I have absolutely had that done where I was healing insecurity and guilt when I was fucking tied up and getting the most amount of pleasure. So yeah, healing absolutely can be pleasurable, but in the context of what I'm talking about, when you're sitting down and we're meditating and we are asking trauma and emotion these type of questions, crying doesn't always look like pleasure, but it does look like release, which can lead to greater pleasure. Okay, I hope that set that straight, because I am also learning like how to heal through actual pleasure. And oh my God, ladies, it is the most fucking amazing thing. It's such a huge release that I didn't even know existed until I started dabbling with shibari. And if you don't know what that is, it's literally you being tied up and softening into the uncontrollable. Like it's a whole world out there that I'm like mind blown with. But in the context of today, and what I'm talking about today is dropping into your body, into the sensations of what needs to be transmuted, and asking trauma and emotions these questions, it is going to be liberating for you. And that's why I'm an advocate for women to walk in their power and start facing these parts of yourself so that you can absolutely live a life of pleasure. Like I say, don't forget to live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. And this is part of it. Healing is part of that unboxed life that you get to have. You get to live liberated, sensual, sexual. You get to be the goddess that you absolutely want to be. But goddesses can't be goddesses when we're holding on to all this trauma from the toxic relationship. And when we don't heal the trauma from the toxic relationship, in a sense, we are still carrying that toxic relationship with us. We are giving that person our power. And I used to believe that I could heal surface level shit, the shit that was like, okay, my tone of voice or my insecurities. But when we don't dig a little deeper, those things follow us into the next relationship. And then we start perpetuating patterns and we start attracting the same men, because that is literally what our nervous system has created, that safety in the dysregulation. Like, that's the pattern that we are so used to. And until we start really healing and looking inwards and looking at our own toxic shit, we're just going to keep attracting the same toxic relationships. And so we have to heal. We have to transmute those things in order to attract abundance, in order to attract the man that we desire, the man that we want to be with. And we say fuck no to all the red flags that we see, because we've fucking healed. And that's what it is. It's healing so that we can be the woman that we want to be, the woman that we desire, the woman that we know we can evolve into, so that we can attract the partner that we absolutely want to have a pleasurable fucking relationship with. And that means looking at your own toxic shit. And that's part of the trauma. That's part of the healing, is we have to have this deep, radical self-awareness of like, fuck, I'm fucked up. And that's okay. I've been there. I understand it. I know the things that I need to heal. And I do that through my life. It's not like you heal once and all is healed. It's not, because like I said, healing literally lasts a lifetime, and we get to evolve through the healing. And that doesn't mean you can't have a healthy relationship while you're healing, because absolutely, if you have a healthy partner who's willing to point things out to you, to talk softly to you, to hold you in a space and support you within your healing journey, you can absolutely be in a healthy relationship, but be aware and mindful that you're not bleeding on your healthy partner. My partner started telling me that, like, you're bleeding on me. You're bleeding on me. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? It means that I'm being shitty to him because of my past experiences. I'm being defensive. I'm talking with a tone of voice. I'm not allowing him to speak or hold space for him and his feelings and emotions, because I was deflecting or, like I said, getting defensive. And I bring up defensive because it's prominent. It's women are defensive if we feel misunderstood. And there's just so much about the self that we need to understand. We need to understand, where are we functioning in survival mode? Where are we holding on to the toxic masculinity? Meaning, where are we not feeling safe to receive support and love and care from our healthy partner? Where do we feel like we have to be hyper dependent and not rely on anyone else, because we couldn't rely on our previous past partners because they were pieces of shit and they made you feel like shit for even wanting help, right? So this is what I'm talking about. It's these patterns that we really need to become aware of so that we can heal those parts of us. And that means asking trauma, like, how are you showing up? How are you presenting yourself in my life? We need to go deeper. And we really need to be transforming and alchemizing. We need to be creating new thought patterns. We need to understand where these limiting beliefs are showing up. Where are we living life with a glass half full? Because we have been, mind fucked to believe that everything is just negative because we lived with someone negative. And that was an issue for me. This partner that I had was so fucking negative about everything in his life that all his beliefs, the way he treated me, everything affected all parts of my life, my parenting, my partnership, the way I treated myself, the way I had an outlook on life. And we have to be willing to look inwards and heal, not with judgment, but with love, and being curious about how we can further our healing so that we can be the radical, radiant woman that we desire. So I encourage you, sit with the woman within. sit with her wounds, understand her, heal her, and love her abundantly. And this is how we heal our heart and embody our soul's wisdom so that we can lead from a place of love instead of trauma and live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. If you are looking for a space where you get to have these in-depth conversations with action steps to really help you transmute and heal, join the Moms Unboxed Telegram space because the women in there are doing the work. We are on our last week of the self-love journey and it will stay up. So if you are like, yes, I want a space where I understand what it looks like to love myself, to expand my self-leadership, my confidence, and heal, this is the space for you. All right, mamas, that is what I have for you this week. Part 2 of healing from a toxic relationship. Sit down with yourself. I encourage it. I love you, and until the next time. Thank you again for listening to Moms Unboxed. Please don't forget to share this episode with all your mommy friends and follow me on Instagram at Moms Unboxed Podcast. Tune in next Thursday for another juicy episode. Until the next time, sunshine.